Welcome to the Moot Point Podcast, episode 8. Once again, I'm Amari.
And I'm Miles.
And yeah, so fresh off the election, just the whole shit. Alright, on 3.
Want me to start it?
No. I mean, you can if you want. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to the Moot Point Podcast. I'm Amari. Alright, go on.
We're doing that shit at the same time.
Alright, 1, 2.
Welcome.
1, 2, 3. Welcome back to the Moot Point Podcast. Once again, I'm Mari.
And I'm Miles.
And yeah, this episode is fresh off the election. We just got the results. What was that, yesterday?
Yesterday.
Joe Biden winning. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So how you feeling about that?
Pretty good feeling,
Yeah,
overall. I'm not like super high, but I don't try to be super high with things. But I mean, the way our people are reacting, and a lot of people in the nation that wanted this, wanted to see an end to, the way Trump carried himself, racism and things of that nature. I mean, people are happy. I mean, I see people celebrating, in DC, out here in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and other places as well. So I mean, in 2020, it's been a daunting year, a long year.
Definitely.
You think about March, that seems like a year ago at least, like maybe like 2 years ago, because it's just crazy all the things that we went through globally, or So I mean, it's a big deal. It's positive. It's a way to end.
And people
2020 for sure.
People try to say that nothing's really done yet, but it's very important to keep things in perspective, to understand that everything takes time, and it's like Miles said, we had a lot of terrible things happen this year. People losing family members, between people passing away, like there's so many things that have been going on. So just to have, like, for the first time, like, collectively, like, we come together and we say, like, we want this to happen because we want this to, like, we want to change the country in this way. And we all came together, had the biggest numbers voting wise that we had probably ever, and we made the change that we sought out to do. So it's good to sit down and, like, bask in it, but once again, like, it's just the first step. But yeah, I was in Atlanta yesterday. It was just a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, and it was definitely like it was a big celebration in Atlanta. I mean, it was kind of crazy because, like, half of Atlanta, it was like a bunch of Trump supporters, and like they were obviously angry, and because they keep saying that the election was rigged and all, like, going into all that, but they were there, and it seemed like it was kind of hostile. Like, there's police officers everywhere. Like, they were rioting. I heard some people had guns. But then you travel just 2 miles, and then you see, like, a bunch of people. I think it was at Piedmont Park. Like, everybody sitting there picnicking. Like, they're riding their bikes. Like, people, like, honking their horns. Like, there's Joe Biden signs. There's like F Trump signs. It's like so many things out there. And, like, everybody, it seemed as if, like, collectively, like, for the first time, like, people say that their vote doesn't matter, but as you can see, like, we live in Georgia, and we just flipped Georgia into a blue state. So
There's a lot of close races out there.
Yeah.
And so I mean, people got out there, they voted. I mean, It's just beautiful to see. Like, okay, you put your energy towards something. You put your mind towards something. You see it come out the way you want it. You want it to come out, so you can put that energy into other things that we want. We figure out what exactly we want as a community. And then we put that energy towards that, and then we see change again. So I mean that's how it works. So it's just a collective effort. So just to see a collective effort across the nation is like, because it takes more than us too. Like, it wasn't just black people that did it. Like, one specific group. Like, oh yeah, you can say black people saved the race. I mean, save the election, or black women saved the election. You can't say any of that. Like, it was a collective thing. Everybody came together. And that's important. Everybody came together for this cause too. So
yeah, I feel as if, I mean, that's a very good point, because the whole purpose of, like, empowering, like, our community and lifting it up is so that obviously we can do better as a community and be united, but also is to show other people, because, like, we have that power that we're showing other people things that we're going through. They can see it through, like, how we express it, and, like, with that causes change. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't just us. I mean, it was a lot of people out there. Like I said, like, it was in Midtown. A lot of people was with it. So I mean, it's definitely a good sign. But also, voting isn't done. We still got January 5th. We voted in some congressmen, because, like, without the whole bigger picture, it would be kind of difficult for him to actually make change. You know,
like it's a unit thing for sure. Like it's multiple elections, and if we want to be serious about the voting thing, we can't do it every 4 years. Because I mean, if you do anything just every 4 years, I'm pretty sure you're not really serious about it. So I mean, if this is like one of the directions that we want to go towards bettering the community, we have to keep on it. We have to stay on it. And like Gwinnett County, we got our first black police commissioner.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
so that's a big
There's
deal.
a lot of change.
That's some local news for us, and that's a big deal. So there was a couple other firsts out there in Georgia alone, but that's the one that I remember off the top of my head because it's most relevant to me. But I mean, that's something that could change a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, we started this at a time where there was a lot of animosity towards the police. So just to see the potential to change the face of the organization locally, I mean that's a big deal. But that was something that we voted for in the ballot, and then we got a new first. So I mean, people breaking barriers. Kamala Harris broke a barrier.
Of
So
course,
I mean, it's beautiful things. Like first, don't let people like take the pride away from it. Like I know it's always gonna be some Debbie Downers. You know what I'm saying? People gonna hate or be like, oh well, this is that, and that. But like, I mean, I feel like we deserve it. Everyone deserves this moment. Like we said, 2020, it's been rough.
It's been rough, yeah. But yeah, and like that's something to look at, within the community. Kamala Harris is the first black female like VP, the highest like any woman has been, and so like it's definitely something to feel proud about. Like she's part of our community, even though a lot of people say that she isn't. Like she is part of our community, and we need to accept that and appreciate her because she probably put in a lot of work to even get there. And we just have to hold them accountable and make sure that they do the things they said they were going to do, and we make sure that they represent the groups of people that like they were saying that they were going to help out. Because a lot of people that they were saying that they were going to highlight to make sure that we get the help that we deserve, or we get the things that we deserve. We haven't been getting it from previous presidents. But
like what we were saying, one more thing, like we were saying with the earlier episodes, like kind of all these work together for the same purpose. But representation matters. Like just seeing that, like I can imagine being a woman. Like I'm not a woman, but just being a woman or being a young girl. Like oh wow, I can do this. Like even if it's not going in that same avenue, is that they can inspire to reach up to the peak or whatever, the apex or whatever industry or whatever they want to do in life. So yeah, like we said, just basking for a second.
Yeah, I mean they'll be basking. Like I have like my little sister, for example, she was watching this speech yesterday when she was talking, and she saw it, and then she was talking about one day she could be the president. It's just things that you see. Like it's all about in the very beginning. It's just about like just like so, it's representation. Like you see that and you say, okay, like maybe I can be that one day. Versus like you see somebody who looks unfamiliar all the time, over and over again. You'll never think like oh I want to be in that position. You're gonna see them and be like, oh well, they probably won't. They probably won't accept me. But now it's very difficult and it's very few far in between. That's why it's very important for us to accept it. So maybe that we can get some more leeway and more steam going that way. But yeah, just piggybacking off of also what he was saying, like in regards to like the police force and how we're getting, more recognition with that. Like that's the whole part. Like that's the whole point of marching. Because marching, like when you march, obviously it's for us to bring our voice out because we're not being heard. And so that's just showing that our voice is being heard more because we're having change going on in our sheriff departments and. Like, it's a bunch of change going around the country. It's not just in Georgia, it's everywhere. So, that's definitely a great deal.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. But not to hold you guys up any longer. The previous episode, we're talking about, what is black. Trying to go into that, like the very complex, because it's a debate between, like, who's included, who's not included, all those things. And then we kind of ended off with colorism. Colorism is a very heavy topic, so we're gonna try to dive into this as.
I'm gonna say one thing about diving in, or us trying to determine what is black.
Yeah.
I think we need to realize that like a lot of these problems that we have, like things that we're trying to figure out, like this is not new. This is not 21st century. This is not 2020. This is not our type of generation problems. Like it's been problems for a while. Like people have thought about this. People have studied this. Like even I was listening to someone speak. They were speaking about the 70s, and they were saying like, you know, it was a lot of Black Power movements going on. And it's like, okay, well, if you're not trying to learn Swahili or, you know, any African native tongues, languages, then you're not Black. And, you know, if you're not, you know, got your hair this way, you get your afro out, then you're not Black. And it's not, it's hard to define. And his endpoint was, I guess when he made it, it was like 44 million Blacks, I think he wanted to say. I think that was the number, 44 million Black people in the United States. So he was saying that there's 44 million ways to be Black.
Yeah.
Like, because I doubt, it's hard to come to a consensus.
Yeah,
like, it would be hard to be a consensus on
that's
that
dope.
because
that's dope.
That's the way that he looked at it. I'm gonna get better with names for you guys.
That's definitely dope though. That's definitely dope. And like, you know, just before we dive in, I mean, just like you said, I mean, you're doing more research and you're seeing it. We kind of hold each other accountable to that. Like, I went on Amazon, I bought a good 30 books, different people.
I'm looking at like 10, like looking like this, right?
So like, you're trying to read up. I mean, you gotta read up so you can learn the history. So I mean, you know, hold your friends, your family accountable, because you know, these are things that have been spoken about for a long time. So we're not trying to repeat the same fights that have been fought. We're trying to go to the next one so we can keep elevating and keep fighting like the next fight, you know?
Yeah, and people that believe, like, you know, people in power, like, they're not going to do things for us, then it's like, okay, if they're not going to do things for us, then that kind of makes it seem like it's up to you.
Yeah.
If you're just feeling that way, like, you're so, you know, adamant about, oh, these people not going to do anything, then that means it's in your hands, or you just accept the circumstances.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we started this, like, we got to realize that, I mean, even if they are doing something, it's not just going, I mean, still problems that will arise, like, you know, later on. I mean, still things, we still have issues in our community at hand right now. So even if certain things stop, it's not, everything just not going to be, you know, just candy, like, it's not going to be just easy. Life is not easy. Like, you know,
it's a multifaceted issue. Like, it's issues outside of our community, it's issues like within. But for us to, but just like you were saying, which is, it sounds like we're saying, like, for us to tackle the ones outside, we gotta tackle the ones inside first, so that we can be collectively fighting towards something different, and then we can attack, you know, whatever is going on outside of here. Because we can't do it. Like, one person can't go out there and do it alone. We gotta have everybody doing it.
Right. Same with the like we're saying with the president's situation. Like, we need to keep voting because, like, you know, he can get things vetoed, or like they might not accept some proposals that he has. It's the same thing in the community. Like, okay, I mean, we have this great person. You know, we have these great people up here, but it's not like it was just them. Like, people believed in them, people followed them. It was people, you know, funding them. It was different things that, you know, got them to be where they were. So
yeah, I mean, definitely,
it's not a singular battle. So, you know, people that don't want to put their trust in the government, which I totally understand. Like, but I mean, that means you should feel like you have the necessity to bear some responsibility and change. Like, look up some things, do some research. You know, do things for your community. Like, when you said you was out in Atlanta, you was feeding the homeless, right?
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, things like that, things of that nature. So I ain't gonna piggyback on that too much, but I just wanted to.
No, I mean, making a good point. I mean, because even when it comes to, like, when you look at the civil rights movements and everything that was going on, like the different movements that were happening within there, there's a lot of names that were brought up that people won't even talk about. Right. So there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people that are doing things, and you know,
and we're blessed, like, because we're in the age of information. Like,
exactly.
It's just another. My dad.
What you talk about? Yeah, we talk about that
all the time. Like, and I was younger. I didn't really grasp it because he came up in the age where you have to go get a I don't even know what it's called, a card catalog. I think if you wanted to go to the library and go get a book. Kind of telling myself. I mean, I'm not that much of a reader, but in college I always did schoolwork in the library, but I never checked out a book in the library. You know. And I was telling my mom, this is my last year of school. I'm like, hey, Mom, I just checked out a book in the library. And she said, you just now checking out books in the library?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, that is kind of bad. I mean, I was doing work in the library. I mean, I was in the library like 70% of the days, but I never checked anything out. And it's like, from a historical standpoint, like, knowledge was hidden from us, like, you know, and it was like changed, erased, you know, and whitewashed, you know. So, but we're in the age of information. You get books online, you get books anywhere. Like, I mean, the knowledge is out here. It's out here now. Like, if you do enough searching, and that's what it's gonna take. So, I mean, one person can't know everything. So it's gonna take collective effort. So, you know, you got partners studying this, and your friends studying that, and then, you know, y'all come together. I mean, that's what it's gonna take.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this whole thing was about.
Yeah, and we definitely was talking about that. Like, what was the first and second episode? So I mean, all these things kind of tying together. Like, if we, with the Moot Point podcast, like I guess trying to, just talk about it just for a brief second. Like our whole mission and purpose is to paint the bigger picture, because it's really hard. It's really hard to fix and solve things if you don't talk about it. So like we put it out in the air. So like a lot of things we talk about, even this episode we talked about previously, like more in depth in other episodes. So they would check those out. But yeah, it is very important. Like information, like if it's out there, why not just look for it?
Yeah.
We scroll through Instagram, we scroll through, like we flip through Snapchat, we do all those things. Like we can go ahead and Google something like civil rights movements, or learn more about Barack Obama
Or
and
just who did what, like
Yeah,
who was
yeah,
behind
who did
what, like those people that you see on the Facebook, who was maybe under the surface of what was going on,
Yeah,
like,
and why
how
they
it was
do that,
funded,
or like
how,
what
how
they
did they
do,
get to
yeah.
be successful, so many things, and like I feel like that's a problem with this generation. I don't want to go into that because that's another episode.
Yeah, that's another episode.
But it's like
yeah.
we just want. I mean, I don't know. We're just kind of spoiled, and we just want things, so fast, and I feel like we fail to appreciate certain things, and we don't understand that. Like, I mean, life isn't easy. Like everything's not going to be accepted. Everything's not supposed to be accepted. Like I feel like we struggle with boundaries and things of that nature, and like drawing lines. Like we just want everything to be okay with everything. But if you're okay with everything, then it's like
And so
that's
I mean,
else,
now I kind of want to dive in that just real quick. I know we're trying to dive, like we're going like off topic, but yeah,
we can let it run, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to our generation, like another issue, I'm seeing everywhere, like, cause if you want to see, it's weird because social media, like, I'm not a big fan of it, but if you want to see like the ideals of people, you go on social media and you see what people are posting, what they're saying, and what is retweeted or like what is reposted, like, cause you get to start understand how people are thinking. And like the one thing I'm seeing is like people have extreme confidence in something, but they have a lack of information. So like they see one person say it and they hold on to it, but they never look into
the thing. It's like we're credible and we acknowledge certain things because it's like, oh, this makes me feel this type of way. Oh, that seems good. But yeah, it's like, I mean, and it's natural human to want to be accepted. Be a part of something. That's just natural human nature. Like you want to be a part of something, whether it's with a partner or with a group, or I mean. That's just the way we are. But it's like certain things we accept so fast because it comes across like, oh yeah, that sounds good, but like. You don't know who this person is. You don't know where that's coming from. We're just accepting it. And like, I mean, I'm definitely been a victim of that stuff.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody wants to feel like they're part of something. But I mean, even when it comes to that, it's just because I say that because you can sit there and be on one side of a social, like of Instagram, for example, or even Twitter, because Twitter is when you dive into like the depths of people's opinions. So like, so like, you can go on like one side of Twitter where there's a bunch of Trump supporters saying one thing about Joe Biden. But then you go on the other side, they're saying something completely different. So what is true? Like, what is true there?
But that's the thing. We got the opportunity, like, with all these opinions, you get to go find out for yourself if you really care to know, or you just.
But people don't really look into it because I feel as if there's a solid answer in there, but mixed in there is lies. There's lack of information. There's lack of motivation.
And we like things sugar coated. I feel like we don't. Like people run from the truth now. Like you try to say things, it's like, oh, that's kind of hostile. But like the truth, like I mean, I always say like, man, y'all tell me the truth about myself. Like I want to know because I mean, sometimes you won't know. Like you don't see how you are. And I mean, I feel like most people don't think like that they really are. Do bad things or have issues within. But I mean, someone has to tell you that and. It's not always gonna be like just the prettiest way about it. So I feel like people don't wanna. Everything's just very sugar coated. But I mean, I feel like we need that realness, that rawness. I feel like that needs to come back.
I mean, we live in a very superficial world now because what's shown on there is perfection. That's what everybody's searching for. Social media, like on Instagram, all you see is perfect things, like how people look, what they're doing, their lifestyle, and so like like we're deep regular people, so like when they look at us and like they see like flaws and stuff, they try to push it aside. But like people, like people have their flaws, and like it's okay to have flaws. Like that's just part of like constantly to the canceling culture thing, like which we were talking about the other time. Like
I gotta check these episodes. It might take me a couple of times, man, but it's deep, man. You gotta really think about some things.
People make mistakes, and like those mistakes, we're all human, and we all have our flaws. And people do need to get checked. But being checked isn't bad all the time.
So how you feel about this? I seen this one post that says, so we can forgive Joe Biden, for being racist at that time, but can we forgive a black person, a black man for voting for Trump? Would you forgive both of those people? Would you forgive anybody? I mean,
Okay. So
how you feel about that? I was like, that's interesting.
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you know, what's funny is like when at Saturday when I was going on Atlanta, like giving food to the homeless, there was somebody running, and like, cause like there was a whole riot. I mean, I'm gonna call it riot because I'm not gonna do what they do. I'm not gonna call it riot. They were protesting, and like he had like a Trump shirt on and a flag running down the streets, a black guy, and the whole person was like, "Oh no, you voted for Trump?" He said, "Yeah, I did." He said, "I'm trying to show everybody like what he was doing." And he was really prideful with that. And me seeing that like changed the whole perspective of like, because I be seeing posts of people saying that like the media makes Trump look bad, and Trump's actually doing a lot of things for the community and a lot of black people and just people. I think people who are autistic, there's a lot of different groups that he kind of centered towards. So it's like, you could vote for somebody and be voting because of a particular thing, but I think the idea of voting like of us, because personally, I mean, I'll share my beliefs. I voted for Joe Biden, obviously, but the point of that was because like no matter what he did, like he was causing a divide in the country because of how he was going about everything that he was doing. It was the feel that he was giving. People were gonna say, "Oh, that's kind of ignorant because about the policies." I mean, you can have all the policies in the world, but the country's falling apart. Yeah, the country's falling apart. Then like, what are you gonna do? Yeah, and so that versus Joe Biden, like. I mean, let's be honest. Like Joe Biden, there was a crime bill, but there's also been reports that after he did the crime bill, like he was trying to retract it after he saw the damage that was causing. Then on top of that, he was obviously the VP of Barack Obama, and I highly doubt that Barack Obama would put somebody under him, hang out with him every day if they had issues with like if they had any racist tendencies or anything. And even if they did, I'm pretty sure he got checked like during that period of time. And so I feel as if like he's showing that he's trying to, even if that is true what people are saying, he's turning another leaf and he's growing and he's changing and he's becoming more sensitive to what's going on. And if you heard his speech last night, he's focused on everybody, people who didn't vote for him, people who did vote for him, LGBTQ community, the black community, just like everyone that feels as if like they were pushed to the side in previous times. So I mean, I don't know if I answered that question, but it's a difficult one because you don't know.
Yeah. I can forgive him, like what I'm saying, yeah. But like as far as like, okay, I don't have animosity towards you. I guess that's
towards the Trump supporter.
Yeah, basically, yeah, the Trump supporter.
Yeah, I mean,
or Biden, like I don't like have animosity towards them. Like, okay, we can feel like, oh, you don't trust this person, or you don't want to. You're not going out your way to, do things, but I feel like just holding animosity, like just coming from a place of animosity doesn't really get things done.
Yeah.
Like,
sit down.
I understand anger. Like anger, that's definitely natural. Something you should embrace at times, but like just holding it in and like, okay, yeah, we can be mad at them for now, but like eventually it's like we gotta let it go so we can focus on what we need to focus on.
Yeah.
But
because I mean, somebody could be voting for Trump for reasons that we aren't even like we don't even understand because we don't go and sit down and like talk to them. I'm not trying to say something's right or wrong right now. I'm just trying to like sit like on the fence, I guess. But when it comes to that, is like sit down and talk to them and see, like sit down and talk to them. But it's very difficult at times. Some Trump supporters are very hard to talk to because they kind of push away like wherever you say.
I mean, certain people like they're rejecting it and like they're not willing to be mature about it. Then I mean, it's obviously nothing you can do in those circumstances. So you just have to let that go. But there's an opportunity to explain or try to do this. Like then you do it. I feel. So.
And even that, I mean,
because we forgave Joe Biden, so it's like okay, eventually. I mean, obviously that took time, and some people still haven't given.
I mean, think about before the coronavirus, like people wasn't even like a lot of people, even in the black community, weren't even aware what was going on.
Yeah.
And so it could be similar to certain Trump supporters. They could be sitting there, their family could believe in it, their friends, like they see on their feed, they're like, all right, let me hop on that. They hop on that. They didn't do their research. Then over time, we start realizing like this was really going on. It's like people are really feeling like these people are actually getting killed in the streets. People are actually feeling tension. They actually feel like in danger in certain areas because they're because like they go to a certain place and they see a Trump sign mixed with a Confederate flag and they feel
And
uncomfortable.
they rep violence sometimes. Like
Yeah, so
they
Yeah, so I
claim
mean,
to be violent. Like you've seen that Trump supporter, or where it's like, oh, we're about to go to war after this, or whatever they're saying. So
yeah,
I understand where it's coming
and
from.
I almost
but,
like
like,
that too.
I feel like we should forgive our own first. Like I said, we forgave Joe Biden, so I'll be damned if I, don't consider forgiving, one of my own.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when we talked about that on this episode, and I feel like this episode right here is kind of like covering everything, that we got to a point, that we said to a point. But that's real. Like I said that a few episodes ago. Like we so quick to forgive somebody else. So we should be able to forgive our own people.
Give them a chance.
Yeah, give them a chance.
Yeah.
Like even faster. I feel like that's so.
I mean, give a chance. That's why I was saying like sit them down and talk to them, and like give them a chance and see what what they may be thinking, like their thought process. Like they could be, because I'm hearing that Trump is for small businesses, so they could have a small business on the side, like, well, yeah, Trump is doing this and the blase, and like my business needs this help, tax this, tax that, and then bada boom, bada bing, like you understand, like all right, like he said it this way, and then you can sit down and say, hey, but have you thought about this, or thought about that, or thought about like what he's doing in the community, type deal, and like you can get like a common understanding. But canceling him altogether, because that's not really the best thing to do.
And not just in this aspect, I feel like this is one of the harder issues to get over. And so if you don't, I won't understand. But like just other things, just carrying that throughout your life daily, like for other things, like people lose relationships over small things, and some relationships are hard to come by. So certain things you gotta squash, like especially if we're our own kind. Like I said, we're forgiven for certain things, but it's like we're harder on ourselves. But I don't want to be so repetitive, but it's the truth. So I understand this is a difficult issue, and like if you don't feel, I know most people say like you chose racism, so then it's no discussion. And I get that, I really do. But it's like at a point we forgave Joe Biden, who said racism, not along with the crime bill, but if you just look into quotes, then you'll see. So about his kids being in school with us, how he described it, but we forgave.
It is a pretty troubling past. But if you heard his speech last night, just give him a chance. We can't. Things are going pretty rough right now. Like let's at least give him a chance to see how things can improve.
Right. And like we said, we out here too. We owe responsibility to ourselves, to
That's
our community to do things. So like we said, even Kamala Harris said, this is just the first step. She was saying like it's more steps to come. It's gonna be it's still an uphill battle. Like that wasn't it. That wasn't the end all do all. So
yeah, and you brought up a point which I've been thinking about for a while. Is like so much tension between political parties, like to the point that people are disrespecting each other. It's just like how can we have any unity? Like now I'm kind of jumping out of just the black community into the whole America as a whole. How are we supposed to have like any unity if like both sides are like like both sides literally going at each other's necks, like just like every belief, like oh yeah, but he's a rapist, oh no, but he's transphobic, like it's just like people are going against each other, and like there's no unity. So like, even after the election is over, you're talking about like they're talking about a war within the country. People are saying that like that could possibly happen because of how people are taking things. Like give the man a chance. Like
that's crazy to think. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's so. If you, like I said, if you want to look to see like the climate, because this is the time we live in. It's a technology based world. So if you want to see the climate of like your generation, or just like people around you, just go on social media and see what they're posting, and like it's some things being said towards each other. Like even some of your friends may have a completely different belief than you, and like they're going at somebody else that has like a whole different belief, and like there's no coming together and saying like all right, like you believe what you believe, and I believe what I believe in. Like let's come together and try to see what's gonna happen. It's just like no, like F you, like this is wrong, F you, this is wrong, like you just completely like misinformed. Like it's a whole like it's a huge divide, and we already have so many divides in America that after Biden won, I would think people would be like, okay, like not similar to sports, because it's not like this is obviously way heavier than sports, but similar to sports, like you have your favorite team in the Super Bowl, and so say like I'm a Giants fan, Miles is he's a Dolphin fan or whatever, and the Giants win, like and I'm like, oh F you, blah blah, like forever you're gonna be like, all right, like the best man won at this time, like let's hope that he comes with the policies that's gonna help all of us. I mean, that's something that you would focus on.
Yeah, not to get too political with y'all, cause but I mean that's just the times we're in right now. That's what's relevant. That's what's going on. So we have to speak on that for sure.
I mean, yeah, definitely. And then just to cap it off, make sure we've been voting lately for local elections and now for the presidential election. You still got January 5th to vote. I mean, keep voting. I mean, for the rest of your life, for the rest of your life, keep voting. Because, as you can see, like, certain states flipped. Like, your vote, like, your one vote matters. And if everybody believes that their vote matters, then it could be some change. But that's only step one. Is like we kept talking, like, we still got to focus on ourselves. Like, these podcasts still going to go on. We still got some things we got to talk about. And we're going to keep moving forward. But finally, on the colorism.
Yeah, that's what we ended on the last episode with. So we're going to cover that briefly.
I mean, I got you. I mean, so I guess my idea when it comes to colorism, and like you already know how I feel about that. I mean, it's obviously there. Like, it's like I'm not gonna sit there and deny it, but I feel as if like when we're being like coloristic to each other, or just we're kind of bringing in the rules that we didn't create. Like, if you go back in history, the shades of your skin, like, we didn't focus on that. It was focused on by obviously people that oppressed us. And so because of that, now we live by those rules. Like people see darker skinned people and they say, oh, like, beauty this, or people see light skinned people, they say, oh, like, you're not black enough. Like, all these like guidelines and things that come from the past, from like opinions that weren't developed by us in like our community. We just kind of took those and made our own.
Yeah, I mean, other communities as well have taken in that, I guess, that theory, that knowledge, because, I mean, it's well known that, like, the beauty standard across, like, all, nationalities is, like, the beauty standard is, like, more sided with the lighter skin.
Yeah. I
guess from, like, a woman's standpoint. So, it's, like, that's everywhere. Like, it's not just a black thing. Like, that's been the if you see white as supreme, that's like more, favorable to, to that. I mean, and even over here in America, speaking on our behalf, like, you would get accepted for certain things if you were just certain skin color. Like, they might not even know that you were black.
Yeah, so
you were so light.
So let me piggyback off of that. So basically, that comes from off of this book I was reading. You guys look up, it's the mulatto hypothesis. It was saying that basically, like, the lighter skin, they were more accepted because they were closer to white. So because you're lighter skin, they deemed you like more intelligent, like more beautiful, because like the darker your skin was, they were saying like the more close to you being an animal.
Right.
So that's why a lot of cultures still embody that, which, like I said, is not something that we created. It was something that was like created by somebody else, and we kind of saw it, and somehow we embodied that. Like we talk about it and we treat each other like in that dating world, and we talk about that with light skin versus dark skin, like all those little trends that we be having, or like we used to have. I don't know if we still have those, but I remember a period of time where like that was pretty prominent in schools and stuff. But all those ideals weren't even ones that we created. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, you got it right. I mean, we see that, like, they're bringing out statistics. I mean, I feel like a lot of people already knew this already. But, like, darker people seem to be some more subjected to a greater length of time when they, for prison. So, I mean, across, that's male and female. So, it's like, I mean, it really gets deep. And that's because, like, it's less sympathy for dark skin, because I guess of the animalistic characteristics are they, want to claim. Not that we have those characteristics, but just the claim of that and claiming that, we're just less human. So, it's like, I mean, they can take whatever. We're always seen as... like, we're seeing as stronger, like, from a male. I know it seems like a more dominant thing. You're seeing as more stronger for the complex of a light-skinned male and dark-skinned male. It's like, we're seeing more stronger. I've heard women say that light-skinned men are, like, more emotional. So it's like, but they don't have those, we don't have those emotions and stuff. So we don't really go through anything. And then for the black, I guess I can't really speak on it too much. But as far as a black woman, like, of a darker skin, it's like, she's just, have these characteristics, like she's strong, like it's like she's not really a woman. She's not. It's like they don't want to claim her to have any like feminine I don't know how to say that, but
Feminine
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 qualities
qualities.
about herself. It's like, oh, she's just dominant. She's so strong. She can deal with anything. But like on the flip side, the white woman's like, oh yeah, like she can't take this, she can't take that, and it's like they don't get like it's like they get pandered to and they don't. It's like, but we have to realize like they're women too. I mean, so those are like I guess some of the main issues that I see.
Yeah.
In the community.
Yeah, I mean, and like those are very valid issues, especially like in, I mean, I bring up the dating scene because that's the most spoken about, that like I've actually heard about, like darker skinned women feel as if like they're underappreciated because of, lighter skinned women get more attention, they get more like opportunities in the world because they're kind of closer to a certain skin tone. And so, I mean, those are very valid. I guess, like, since we're talking about experience, like, well, my experience is more so, like, I mean, when I was younger, I was definitely told that I wasn't black enough because, like my skin color wasn't a darker tone. Like, I'm, I guess, like, light brown, I guess. But, people will say that you're not black enough, which is, difficult to accept on its own because it's like, what, if you're not white, then where are you? Just different shades of black. But
I mean, people told me like they like being dark. It's like they always, I don't know like who they were around or like what them got. I mean, I guess it's the training that we're alluding to, but they seemed and they figured out that darkness was like their dark skin was ugly. Luckily me, I've never thought that about myself.
Yeah, bleaching skin is a very popular
but
society
not even,
of the world.
Definitely, but not even that. It's just like I never thought like, oh yeah, this shade of skin is just ugly. Like I don't know. I mean, I heard men and women say like, that they've been, picked on because of that. I mean, we've all heard the African booty scratcher jokes and stuff like that. So I feel like people really took that to heart. But even me, I always had a sense like, I mean, your mom could even attest to this. Like when we went to Puerto Rico, like, or just anytime when we was hanging out in the summer doing some workouts, like I wanted to be darker. Yeah. Like I don't know what, like I can't even think what gave me that pride because I mean, when I was that young, I didn't really. I don't really know how to explain it, but I wasn't really like, just like, I guess as pro-black as I am now. Not saying that I wasn't pro-black then, but like, I'm just,
you're more
like,
aware.
I'm focused on the issues. Yeah. Like, I'm realizing, like, back then I was just unaware and I was ignorant of how divisive this world is and how messed up this world really is. So I wasn't really aware. So I guess I was just naive is the correct term for it. I was just naive about it. So, but like, I was always proud of my skin tone. Like, and I always like, oh yeah, I like getting dark. Like, I like being outside. Like, that was cool to me. But it's like all the characteristics, I guess, physically about being black. Like, even when it comes to hair, hair texture, like, more dark people might have more, coarse hair. It's not straight. It's more, kinky. And that's seen as a bad thing. It's like all the characteristics about us, like those main two, it's like always seen as a bad thing. But I mean, I feel like it's something that we need to embrace. And there's a lot of pride and that comes with that. So
yeah. I mean, I definitely. Just kind of thinking about that, like maybe it's more so because obviously like the skin color is beautiful. I think it's more so like what comes with it. That's what the anger and frustration comes from. Like the things that come with it. Like you said, that bring up that stat about people getting arrested more and like
that's a good point. I didn't think about it. Like
so that. I mean, it's the whole idea because like obviously like look at everybody in our community like we're beautiful people, but it's just like what comes with that is sometimes ugly. Like police brutality, all these things, like they all
self-hate. People hating on themselves, and they projected that on you. And it's like, oh, you don't see this. I mean, like
the world.
I feel like people like my family, they love me, but it's like certain things. It's like the way we're trained to think about ourselves, think about our hair, and then like, bruh, leave me alone. Like, why are you thinking like? I was like, you don't even really see what you're saying to me, but it's like I really don't care. Well, I do care because I don't want you to stop thinking like that. But it's like, man, you shouldn't be thinking about that by yourself. So
yeah.
I mean, that's how
I mean, people are pretty ignorant to that. I mean, I remember seeing a post. It was this psychologist. He was saying that he was talking to, I think it was a white psychologist. It's like a conference, and he answered the phone or something, and he called him back. And he said, "Oh, like that was your trap phone or something." It's just like being ignorant. It's like not like being unaware of like how hurtful like your words could possibly be, and like being unaware of like the history that comes with like the stuff that you're making fun of. And like the implicit bias that you have, like because of what you're saying, like you're unaware of like why you're saying those things. Like you're making, like you're commenting on somebody's hair, but you wouldn't go to your friend's hair and be like, oh, like great texture. Like you're going to somebody you don't know, and like somebody part of a culture and a history and lineage that you're not even aware of.
And it's like, if you know, like you claim something to be good, like a certain characteristic of you claim anything to be good, like then you must know what the opposite, like the antithesis
It's bad.
of that is bad. Like you know, like if this is like okay, blue is good, you know, red is bad. Like it's simple. So like you know, you acknowledge something as better, or you acknowledging it as good. Like oh yeah, this is like the desirable characteristic. Then it's like I say, for example, I mean even. I don't speak on this a lot, or people don't speak on it a lot, but even eye color, like, you know, like, this
blue,
is,
blue,
blue, or, you know, green or hazel,
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, those are beautiful eyes, but it's like, you're not seeing, like,
I see some beautiful brown eyes.
Brown eyes are like this, like dark brown, like, that would be perceived as black, like, you know, that's beautiful too. I mean, and people realize that, like, especially, I see it a lot in babies, like, you know, I feel like they have just softer eyes, but it's like, oh, yeah, they have some beautiful eyes and they're black, like, I mean, even people, like, even, I want to, you know, tell about myself a little bit, like dating outside of my race in my teenage years, like, I mean, it was, like, the characteristics was, like, it was still, like, black hair, black eyes, or brown hair, brown eyes, like, still that dark, you know, it was dark, they just weren't, you know, black, or they weren't, you know, dark skinned, but, you know what I'm saying, I still saw those characteristics, and there was still beauty in that, so, I don't really know how people, I mean, I guess people, like I said, they project that on them, because, like, I was told you, people project the thing about the hair onto me, like, and I guess that's how people begin to deal with that self-hate, because you don't just,
it's programming.
You don't just come out, you know, feeling certain type of ways about yourself, but.
Yeah, it's programming, similar to we talked about, I guess, in the previous episode, once again, kind of going back to that, but yeah, I mean, it's programming, like you see, like, it's said in movies, you know, people say it in songs, like, you know, and like, wherever it's a popular thing, like, people are going to already deem that as good versus like what's not spoken about. Like, for example, like people talk about how in videos, like back in the days, to have like a lot of light skinned women, and like they had all these kind of features, so people are gonna like consider that as like, oh, like this is what we want to have, like this is good. It's programming, because you see something so often that's getting highlighted. For example, it's like advertising, like if you see a certain kind of deodorant over and over and over again, you don't go to the store and be like, yeah, I want that one. It doesn't mean that one's better than the other. It just means that you see it so much that your brain, like, you're programmed to like want it and desire it. Yeah. So it's all programming. But I mean, I kind of, you know, going back to what you were saying about that quote, you know, the 51 million or 1,000 ways of being black. Yeah, like I feel like that's kind of similar to this. Like there's no good and bad. There's just millions. Yeah, it's like a lot of different ways of being.
That's the unique thing that we have to be so diverse. Like, and we have to accept all, you know, just all of it. Like the way that we are. Like we don't need to separate this, that, and the third. Like that's just dividing us when we need to be together. So.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the whole purpose, even the whole purpose of this conversation, usually, like when we have these conversations, is to bring some attention to it so we can keep talking about the final solution. But like this one is no different. But I feel as if, like, you know, similar to what Miles was saying about having pride into like in his skin color, I feel as if we shouldn't be like going at each other when it comes to like our skin tone, because, you know, like we all go through similar issues, you know, but it's still, you know, darker skinned people go through maybe different issues than lighter skinned people, but like we're all kind of part of the same community, and we're still all going through things collectively. And so kind of the point of me bringing up that it wasn't our standards, like we're not living by our standards, living by somebody else's, is because like it's because like that's causing a divide within the community, and we need as much like collective, you know, engagement as possible. So, you know, even in the dating world, or even in just the political world, or just like even when you see people like the like with stereotypes, like we see somebody in the streets, like you see somebody with darker skin tone versus someone with lighter skin tone, like think different things, like try to like similar to what we were saying about, what was it, the episode was about
the subconscious program.
Yeah, like when you think about stuff like that, like, you know, be aware of that, and then just think like, why am I thinking that, and then push it aside because it's not true. Like, you know, like
replace it with something else, something positive.
Yeah, something constructive, like, because we're all part of the same community, like we're all trying to big each other up, and like, you know, this is not, you know, we all have different experiences, so this is not me saying that we all have the exact same experiences, because that's completely ignorant. But what I'm saying is, like, we have to uplift each other, because if we don't, like, who else is? That's what it comes down to.
So, I mean, both of us are seem pretty accepting of, like, you know, the darker or the undesirable, quote unquote features. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm telling too much of your business, but you see, like in the dating world, you seem to lean towards the darker, skin and characteristics that we were just discussing that seem, undesirable. Do you like? You find a reason in that, or like, can you like? Is there like a way to explain like how that happened? Is there something like I don't really even know what to ask, but I mean, it's a pattern here, and I'm just wondering how you kind of.
So I mean, my girlfriend, she's a darker skin tone, and I mean, I just personally like, I don't think of people like by their, like, I don't think that somebody looks prettier than others because of their skin tone. You know what I'm saying? So I feel as if, because I've also dated people who are lighter skin tone.
I mean, maybe a long time ago, but I'm talking about these last boom, 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 like.
Yeah. I just think black is beautiful. Like, so I think that's why I stick by. I just kind of like, I don't think I ever had that kind of like colorist like bias in me.
But what do you think about? Is there a difference between preference? Like, okay, I prefer this, but it's not that I. Like, I mean, is there a preference? Like, you can have a preference. I feel like you should be able to have a preference, but you could do that without, demeaning something else, like the other part of us, at least. Like, you can have a preference, like, oh yeah, this is what I like. But do you think preferences lean on, like, dismissing other characteristics as, lesser? I mean, I feel like everyone's attracted to certain types. Like, I mean, the people say I ain't got no type, but I feel like people got a type. Like, people usually have, a type. But how you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that's different. Like it's different between like, preference and just being like, just completely being like pushing another side away because like you have these inner thoughts that like feel as if like they're not good enough for you. Like, I feel like it's different. Like, preference is like, I mean, you can see somebody acknowledge like their beauty, like they're beautiful.
I'm saying just speak specifically on preference. Is there anything wrong with that? Like,
oh no, preference.
So I feel like people don't want you to have preferences because you feel like. But I don't feel like the preferences should be like, oh, it's because they don't do this. I mean, I feel like I'm attracted to like browner skin myself. A natural look, like So I mean, I can accept that. And at first, I believe I had a type, but it's definitely like. I guess it's something there that I'm attracted to. So I mean, that's a preference that I have. So I have to like acknowledge it. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, it's obviously people that are beautiful all across the board, but it's something that I like. It's something that's drawn to me even more. So I feel like preference is okay, and that's another thing inside. I feel like people feel like you always hurting somebody else, or you always disrespecting somebody else just because you like something. Doesn't mean that you only do this, only do that, but I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with liking something and having a preference in society, but I feel like you need to check if you're feeling, having prejudice about, certain things like, oh yeah, this is bad, or oh, this light skin, this is bad, or this dark skin, dark hair.
I think the issue comes with like when you're more so like your prejudice towards those people, like different people. So like I feel like preference is fine because everybody has like I mean, you like what you like, but like preference is. It's difficult because like it's like a thin line, but like you can, I guess what I kind of saying, like you could acknowledge somebody's beauty, but you're like, all right, like, but she's not really like my type,
right? Yeah.
Because like something gets you going, like that's what makes you like, all right,
yeah. Right.
So it's like you can have that preference to be like, all right, like she's for me, like I'm attracted to her, but you can also acknowledge like, yeah, she's beautiful, but she's not, she's just not for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's a little different versus saying like, oh yeah, she's beautiful and like I'm attracted to her versus like saying, oh yeah, she's beautiful, but I mean
I just think it's an automatic cancellation because they have. I think it's like the automatic cancellation because they have this or because of that. Like, oh yeah, they have no chance because they have this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like as far as skin tone and like skin and hair texture, eye color and things of that nature. I feel like just canceling, within us, within our community, within our race, like they're just canceling each other out because of that. I feel like that's where you kind of, I would draw the line at, because I mean, like I said, preferences, like there's no getting around that. That'll never go away in anything. I mean, people always have their preference, so I feel like Yeah, like I explained.
Mm.
So that's where I would draw the line. I don't know if you would draw the line like that, but I mean, because it's natural. Like I mean, to be attracted to people that more like you. So I mean, do you feel it's hateful to not want to date outside your race? Like, do you think that's hateful?
I think it depends on your intentions, like why you're doing it. Because some people, like I said, like we talk about like in your unconscious, your subconscious, like things that like it's like your inner, like you have stereotypes, prejudice, like you have like those that implicit bias towards a certain group of people. So like you can if like that's the reason, then you need to be aware of that and like try to understand why you have that and try to push that aside. Versus you saying like those people like I just don't find like the people that I've seen, because you can't say that whole group of people are unattractive because you haven't met every single person that can like that.
I mean, it's not about being unattractive. It's like
I'm not attractive, but
like you don't want
you.
like that's just not something that you want to get involved with.
Yeah, like you're into. I mean, unattractive in terms of how you feel. Like you're not like.
I mean, just because it's not like I feel like just because it's like you don't want it doesn't make it unattractive. Like I just don't.
I guess that's a good
how
point.
I feel about it. Like,
because you can acknowledge somebody's really would be like, all right, well, that's not really mine.
Yeah, that's not really
so I mean,
cup of tea. Like,
so I mean,
I don't
guess
know if we don't click on these other levels, So
yeah, because
because it's more than the eye.
Yeah, because there's more things like understanding the culture, understanding like where you come from, and like excuse me, like how you talk, like what you believe in, like what you listen to, like it's so many different things that go into like when you're dating somebody, like and the connection that comes with that. And so you could find somebody, like you said, like the emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, like all those attractions matter. And so like you can just be attracted to certain people that you meet that like just so happen to be part of like this like the same group. So it's like
So yeah, I feel like it. I mean, like we said, I mean, sometimes you feel like you can't relate to those people. So I don't feel like it's wrong to think about not dating outside your race, like, because I mean it's millions of people in your race, so it's not like you have a lack of options, But I feel like, what do you feel about people that don't date their own race? Like, do you feel like I feel like that's way worse than what I'm saying, like not want to date your race. I feel like that's way worse. I feel like it's worse to not want to date your race than to date your, you know what I'm saying?
But why? But I mean, it comes down to intentions once again. Like why? Like why are you not doing that? Like for example, like on social media,
to only date outside your race and then to not want to deal with your race. Because I feel like that's a form of like, why don't you want to accept people that's like yourself? How could you not want to date with somebody inside your race or someone that looks like you? And that's the problem with colorism too. Is like, okay, I'm dark skinned. How can I not? I'm like, I don't like any dark skins. Like, how is that possible? It must be something wrong. Like it's that's some self hate in there. I feel like that's something that you need to check. Like how can I not want to mess with people that look like me? That means like I have some insecurities about myself as well that I feel that you need to address. That's why I feel like if you never want to date your race or even someone that, as far as the colorism aspect, like looks like you, I feel like that's something that is way worse than only dating your race, and I feel like that's something that needs to be checked. That's how I personally feel.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a point. I mean, all I was gonna say, like when it came to that was, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, basically, like some athletes would come out and say, "Oh, I'm dating like this white woman or this white man because or like they'll say I'm dating white women because like black women are this and that, like they're very aggressive or they're very this and that, like, and like those are things that like you said, they need to check within themselves because they came from a black woman, like they came out of one, they were raised in a black family, and so like these are
that's
things
the worst part of colorism. I'm glad that finally came up to my mind. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, those are things that really need to be handled within themselves because it's okay, like it's okay to date whoever you want to date. I mean, me personally, that's how I feel. But if you have some issue with that group of people, and that's why you don't want to date them. Like it's something like you say,
that's your people. Like that's strange.
Yeah,
like, I feel like that's only like a black problem. Like I know blacker skin is is like not seen as a beauty standard across the nations, but I don't feel like it's like, oh yeah, that's just like, oh yeah, like darker people, they gonna like, oh that's like we don't want to mess with you because of this, because of that. Like I feel like that's specifically like more of a black problem. Like darker skinned men, like I'll take the blame for it. Like darker skinned men not wanting to mess with dark skinned women. Like I feel like that's really like our problem.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like that needs to be addressed. I feel like that's one of the main strong points on colorism right there, because it's like, how could you not want to mess with? Like, I feel like all nationalities, like they are fond to their nationalities, and that's accepting, and that's cool. Like, you know, and they like that, you know, and it's
and
like,
really,
and
really
we
like,
do it. It's like, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, they really want to stay within.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not to name specific groups, but there are groups of people who like want to stay within like their culture. Like they want to date within, and they want to make sure that like that lineage kind of stays the way it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like we're in a time where that's kind of changing, because you know people kind of intermingle. And like I said, I don't have a problem with it. But I mean, I do support. I mean, black relationships, like I mean, that's all we kind of been in. So, well, I mean, I guess, but yeah.
I mean, I feel like personally, it's a lack of black relationships with the black father being out of the household, from this last generation, with a lot of things going on, mass incarceration and them being locked up. So I feel like it's a need for it. Like I feel like it's a need for us to do that at this point. Like,
yeah.
So that needs to be addressed. I feel like, I mean, because the start of anything is like a good household. Like, that just breeds the children, breed how they react to society. The way they think. It's like a household, and having both parties present in the household. And seeing you looking up, and you see a black father, black mother, you seeing them just like you. The struggles that y'all been through, y'all can relate, and then they can understand more. So I just feel like, I mean, it's a lack of those relationships in the community, and I feel like it should be an emphasis on like bringing those back together, like bringing us back together.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Well, I feel like that's a good stopping point,
Yeah. But yeah. So once again, like take a look at the previous episodes. Like we kind of brought some of those up. I mean, we got some gems in there. Hopefully, But yeah, I mean, the whole purpose of this conversation is kind of like not. I mean, obviously, try to dead it. I mean, when it comes to that, like be aware of it, but within the community, like just focus on encouraging each other. Like don't tear each other down because of your skin tone, right? Like our focus is to encourage each other.
Yeah, our community. That's basically the point I was making at the end. Like our community's already been torn down and separated enough, so I feel like we gotta stick together. Malcolm X said, like, how we gonna preach unity and we don't even have unity within ourselves? Like, how we gonna have total unity if we don't have black unity? Like, So I mean, that's something I wholeheartedly believe. So
yeah, but yeah, I mean, thanks for stopping by again. Thanks for watching Moot Point Podcast, where we speak with the people, not for the people. See you again next week.